I think the audience, and I always try to explain to them, over the last 20, 30 years, Europe stopped having babies, bottom line, or they've cut down to the point where they actually need immigration. You need what they call to fulfill or a replacement population. You know, if you sell your house, who do you sell it to if no one's behind you? Right. That kind of thing to keep an economy going. I don't think people know in Italy, Italians don't make pizzas. It's the Tunisians who make pizzas because it's a low-paying job. Right. Why would they do it? Right. So I don't think the audience understands where the genesis of this came from. They've been facing it for a while. They've had to let immigrants in, and now they're in a point where they never assimilated. To a large degree, the Muslims haven't. And then the radical part of this religion has taken over and to the point where it's an extreme danger, and it's going to upset everything about what's going on over there, potentially even here.
No.
So how do we deal with it?
Well, you know, when we look at where we are right now with respect to the immigration side of this thing, I think it's really interesting of how we're going to handle it. We talk about the refugees coming in, but the biggest issue is monitoring. And we were alluding to that before when you were talking about this particular offender and his criminal background. But how do we monitor these folks? And how do we vet them before they come in? And how do we track them once they're in?
Right. I mean, France, I think, has 1,800 people on their watch list.
Right.
1,800? If it takes up to 25 police law enforcement personnel to watch someone like that around the clock, right, you start crunching the numbers and you wonder, where does the money come from? Right. But how do we do it? Because we've got to come up with a solution.
Part of it, I truly believe, is going to be a public-private partnership, and a lot of this is going to have to, a lot of the burden, believe it or not, Charles, is going to have to go down in corporations. When you think about what happened here in 9/11, we were both here at that. We know that this city underwent a transformation in culture. So when you look at our buildings, and I was part of the team that did this, when you look at our buildings today, look at the emergence of all the bollards that are outside. You can't use a vehicle here, but that wasn't that way before. We made a change. Corporations took it upon themselves and said, I need to make a change.
It's so funny you say
Government can't do this whole thing.
I remember they did it at the, first they did it, of course, at the New York Stock Exchange. So I would come out of my office, it was ugly. You big concrete barricades. It really felt like a war zone. It was uncomfortable. Then they designed them and dressed them up a little bit. But all of a sudden, not a few years later, I saw the same thing at my local mall, upscale mall, and it dawned on me one day as I was walking in, oh, do they think someone's going to drive a car here and blow this place up?
Exactly, and that's why we went and we adopted this particular philosophy, because we knew in this country this is a high probability of risk. But remember what last point? It was Al-Qaeda at that point that we were concerned with, because that's their methodology.
Paul, great stuff.